Hello guys, welcome here to another edition of Out of Turn 4. I apologize for the background. Just moved into this new place here. Loving it so far. So, hey, figured I'd take a minute. Sorry it's a little late. It's been a little hectic moving and everything. But we're here today. We have an episode of Out of Turn 4. We're going to recap Sonoma. We're going to recap some of the big news throughout the week. Two of the biggest stories, and then of course we'll have our pick for IndyCar at Road America. I had teased on Sunday morning Tinkle doing an off-season or silly season preview. I'm going to do that next week because we will not have much racing to talk about, and of course this week we just got to get the episode out, so that's why we're not doing it this week. But let's get going. We'll talk Aric Almirola real quick. He holds off Kyle Larson and AJ Allmendinger to win his first ever Xfinity Sonoma race. It is his fourth career Xfinity win. The first for Ryan Sieg's team. Of course, he drove the 28 that Kyle has driven all year. But a little asterisk next to it because it basically was a third Stewart-Haas Racing car. And of course had Aric Almirola's entire pit crew handling the car. So, a little bit of an asterisk next to it, but I'm happy for Ryan Sieg, even if it is a Stewart-Haas car, a win's a win. And of course, Aric Almirola held off probably one of the greatest to ever do it on the road courses in Kyle Larson, and absolutely one of the best in AJ Allmendinger. So that is no short accomplishment. That is no small feat. So congratulations to Aric. He gets the job done. Good win. Watch the ending. It was fantastic. I can't believe Larson made a mistake. That boggles my mind. A mistake like that, hitting the tires and then shooting up the track, just unfortunate for him. Martin Truex Jr., he caps off a dominating Cup Series performance by winning at Sonoma. His fourth win ever at the track puts him second all-time and 33rd in career wins. So again, I didn't watch the finish, unfortunately, but I will tell you, I do want to talk a little bit about what I thought so far going into the season. Of course, it's been so unpredictable, so inconsistent, and I know Denny Hamlin mentioned it on Actions Detrimental. So go listen to that. But his thoughts on the first half of the season, same exact thing. He's like, man, this is just unbelievably unknown. He's like, how, we just don't know who's going to win well, we know who's going to win, but we don't know, they could have one good week and then have a terrible week the next week. No one has been consistent yet. So it's been interesting, to say the least. And of course, now we head into the off week, which means when we come back, we got shitty NBC. Everybody talks about how good NBC's coverage is. And, Fox was no walk in the park this year. I finally will admit Fox was no walk in the park. They did pretty bad on their coverage. So I got to call them out where it's due. So again, not a fan of the coverage that Fox has done so far. It was, to me, their worst season that I know of. Last year was rough too, but commercial-wise, I thought I was watching NBC with how many commercials they constantly put on the air. It's like, what kind of bills are you trying to pay at this point? It's only going to get worse next week, or in 2 weeks, when NASCAR returns at Nashville. For a fact they're going to run commercials nonstop. So, to those who are complaining about Fox and their coverage, you just wait till next week, because it's going to get worse, except for obviously having Junior back in the booth. That's about the only positive that can be taken out of this. So, that's all I got for that. On to the racing news. Conor Daly and Ed Carpenter Racing. This one was a big shocker to me, especially knowing that I'm going to Mid-Ohio in a couple weeks. Conor Daly has been released from Ed Carpenter Racing ahead of Road America. And the next day, it was announced that Ryan Hunter-Reay, Captain America, will return to drive the number 20 for the remainder of the season. Conor is expected to make an announcement, I believe, tomorrow on Speed Street, so you will want to listen to that. Of course, another Dirty Mo podcast if you are interested in learning the future fate of Conor. But we do know one thing: he will drive Nitro Cross for Dreyer and Reinbold at Oklahoma this upcoming weekend. So, oh man. First off, I feel so bad for Conor because he's fought so hard to stay in the sport. The team has not exactly performed the way that they have hoped. They got a very young, talented driver in Rinus VK. And at first I thought this was a cost-cutting measure. I'm not going to lie. I thought this was a cost-cutting measure. Hey, we're going to cut Conor, save a couple bucks. We'll sign Linus Lundqvist, the Indy Lights champion. So I thought that's where this was going. Then to get told, hey, Ryan Hunter-Reay's in the car the rest of the year. So I'm not really thrilled, to be honest. And I'm happy for Ryan Hunter-Reay because Ryan Hunter-Reay deserves another shot in this sport. But at the expense of Conor Daly, I mean, a man who, you can hate on him as a driver, but he's probably one of the best at Indy every single year. He's one of the most likable drivers. And, he brings so much sponsorship to he brought Bitnile to the table for the entire Ed Carpenter Racing team. So, and another thing is he's such an advocate, he's such an ambassador for IndyCar, and I hope he continues to be just that, and hope that he lands somewhere. I know Callum Ilott will probably be on the move this off-season, possibly Agustin Canapino as well. So there's going to be seats that are going to open. Andretti and Devlin could be changing hands. Ray Hall Letterman could be changing hands. So I know there's going to be opportunities out there, and I sure hope he gets one because he's one of the ones who is so deserving of an opportunity and, to stay in the sport ultimately. For a PR perspective, he is probably one of the best in terms of PR and, growing the sport. So I sure hope that we'll see him back behind the wheel either later this season or next season. Hopefully, maybe even Dreyer and Reinbold could step up and say, hey, we're going to run a full campaign or we're going to run a few more races and we'll run with Conor. Maybe that'll come out of it. But again, I was pretty upset that day. I'm glad we had a week to simmer down. Kamui Kobayashi, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, he is going to drive for 2311. It was announced at Le Mans that he will drive the 67 for 2311 at the Indianapolis Road Course. Of course, Kobayashi, if you don't know, is a Toyota prototype driver in Europe. So congratulations. It'll be fun to watch Kobayashi. I think he'll do well. Of course, we saw what Travis Pastrana was able to do, getting that 67 in the field for the 500. And again, what will we see? 2311 is still one of those newer teams. This now has sort of a Project 91 feel to it. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kobayashi will handle the Indianapolis Road Course. With that, I'm going to make my pick. IndyCar Road America. I'm going to pick Scott McLaughlin. That is the only race this weekend, guys. So it's a short episode. You guys luck out. Next week will not be a short episode. We will have, of course, our silly season preview special for the Cup Series. So you will want to tune in. And again, we'll see, a lot of question marks going into next season. So you will want to tune in, see what I think. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye, everyone.